Okay, so I'm going to talk about this number 4, step 4, update the story. So let's see what the instructions are here. So what we need to link up our stories. So I think what she's talking about is if you click here, you need to, these things need to be linked together. So when they see a tiger, or when the user turns left, they're going to see a tiger. When they turn right, they're going to find a chest. First off, they want us to link both buttons to IB action called choice made, but we already did that earlier. And then the next thing we want to do is modify the code inside the viewcontroller.swift so that when you run the app and the user clicks on the button that says take a left, the story label updates to show you see a tiger. And the choice buttons show the new choices. And that would be shout for help and play dead for that one. But if the user clicked on the button that says take a right, the story label updates to show you find a treasure chest as well as the new choices for that story. So if successful, you should be able to navigate through the story like this. I'll let you look at that on your computer. And then there's a couple of hints. So when I first look at this, I think, okay, so if you choose one thing, if you click on one button, you do this. If you click on another button, you do that. So that sounds like an if statement, right? So I'm going to copy and paste this above here because, again, the IB action function for the UI button is this IB action function is going to be what's triggered when somebody presses one of those buttons. So let me copy and paste that, and I will make it be a comment. And then there's also the 2 hints that she has. So she's got 2 hints here, hint 1 and hint 2. She wants to talk to us about how to track where users in the storyline using a number. So that's what we did in the previous one, if you recall, in the Quizlet app. All right, so here we are. We want to figure out what's going on with which button was pressed. So we have already set it up in the view did load to show the very first choice. So you see a fork in the road, left and right. And we know that through a previous lesson that if we use this sender parameter in the function, that we can access something called tag, which tells us which button was pressed. So let's go over to the main storyboard and make sure those are set up. Let's see. So if we go to choice 1, we've got a tag of 0, and that looks good. Choice 2 also says 0, so we need to change that. Let's make that be 1. And now we know that we can say if choice 1, then so we would say if sender dot tag equal 0, then we're going to do something. So what we're going to do there is change this value. So I'm going to copy and paste this code. And we know that we're going to change it to 1, right? Because now we're going to look at the you see a tiger if they do the choice 1, the turn left. But as I recall, let's figure out how to actually do this without having to use these numbers so that it can be more extensible. The code can apply to future things we might want to add. So we need, what she said was think about how you can track where the user is using a number. So I'm going to use this number. I'm going to make up a number called, with a name called story number. So let's go up here with the other definitions. And I'm going to say, no, it can't be a let because we're going to change it. So var story number, and I'm going to initialize it to be 0. So then we can say we have to set the story, or we just set the story number. And so then if we can check also here, so if sender.tag equals 0 and sender number, or no, not sender number, and story number is, let's see, equal to 0, then we probably want to like increment the story number, so we can say story number equals 1. We don't want to increment it because if we want it to be extensible into future code, we won't know necessarily where we will be directing people. So we'll just keep it at 1. And now we have this, so we can just use this instead of that number. So now I just changed it so that we should be updating this to be choice 1 and choice 2, which is the second one. Okay. So and we have to, and then we can say else if, and we can't use the else because there might be other tag numbers, so that might confuse the code. So I'll do sender.tag equal 1. So that means that this choice 2 was selected. That's what the ID action function recognizes. And story number equal 0. Then we're going to do some stuff, and we're basically going to do the same exact thing as this. But now, oh, you know what? I just realized something. We don't want to change the story number to 1. Oh yeah, we do, because this will be, this value is 1. And now we need to change it to 2. So now all this code works. Now the first thing I'm thinking, and I'm not going to do it right now, because she didn't instruct us to, but all this stuff could go into a function, so that then you just call the function and pass in the story number. And if you wanted to exercise that as a as a challenge, you can go ahead and do that. All right, so now we've got this code going. And let me see, what else did you say? She said we could put stuff in an update UI location. So let's see, we could make a function called update UI. But I guess let's just see if this works. Okay, so if I take a left, all right, well, that's good. But now you see I can't go anywhere because it's really the end of the game. So, so I have to run it again to see if the other one works. Take a right. Oh, that's not working. I wonder why that's not working. So sender.tag equal 1 and story number equals 0. Story number is 2. So it should actually be changing. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. Oh, no, story number 0. And we set it to 0 when it first loads. I think I'm going to set a breakpoint here and just see if I can follow what's going on. So the way I did that is just click on the number, and that means that the code is going to break right here so I can watch what's going on. So let me try and run this code. Okay, so I said take a right. Now the code should have stopped here. Oh, it didn't enter the code. So I should set the breakpoint right there. So let me start it over. Okay, so I'm going to take a right. Huh. Well, I couldn't tell from that either. So let me see if I can get the code to break here. Let's try that at the very first line. So we say take a right. Oh, code's not breaking. Okay, so is it working at all? What's wrong here? Take a left. Okay, so then it breaks into this code. So we know that take a left is working and entering the code. Oh, because we incremented. No, the story number, we should be able to tell what's going on here. So we see the story number down here. Story number is 0. Maybe that's how I can test it. So I'll start over again. Okay, so if we look at, let me set a breakpoint here because I know that they're, oh. Okay, so you can see the breakpoint started, so I can look and see what's going on. Story label has nothing yet. Story number is 1. So if I go to, what's this? So I'm going to step over this particular item and then see what happens here. So now story label got identified as a thing. Oh yeah. And so now I just have to, I keep going, I guess. I think I'll go to the next breakpoint. Okay, so it was just showing us the loading. So let me click on, I click on this button. I don't understand why nothing's happening. So let me go back to here and look at the story, not storyboard, And if I look at this choice, and it has the tag of 1, so it should be sending in that tag equal to 1. Looks like something's definitely being clicked on here. Okay, so I figured out what was going on. Because I copied all of this code over, because I keep making these different stages of the Destiny app, I had forgotten to include choice 2 into this function. So of course it couldn't get triggered because it wasn't seeing it. So now I've done this, and now let's run it. But you got to see me troubleshoot a little bit, scratch my head. Normal part of programming. So basically it wasn't entering that code because it had not yet, the choice 2 had not been linked to the choice made function. So now if we take a right, it's gonna say you find a treasure chest, open it, check for traps. So this actually works now. And then let's see, what else do we need to do? Oh, the update method. But one thing it's a little bit disturbing to me, of course, is that you can't do anything now. So this is a pretty lame game. it just does one thing and then you can't start over. So I'm thinking, why don't we create a restart button? I thought about just using a timeout and going to the beginning, but people might want the display to be up and show somebody what they saw. So I think instead what we need to do is create a button. So I'm going to create a button over here. And the button, you can hardly see it. So I'm going to change the color to be white. And I'm going to change the name of the button because it's never going to change. I'm just going to call it restart. And I need to create a, what's the first thing to do? I need to create an IB outlet so we can actually talk to the button, tell it to do stuff. So, or identify it. So I'm going to just do a control click and drag this over. And I'm going to call it restart button. And it's a UI button. I'm going to connect it. And then I'm going to make an action so that I can reset everything when that button is pressed. So I'm going to do a control restart and put it after this IB action function. Control. So I'm going to call this function restart game. And I'm going to make it be of type UI button triggered. I'm going to say connect. So now what I'd like to do is do all this stuff. And what I could do here is also set the story number to equal to 0. So story number equals 0. And then I can use the story number instead of just using this magic number. So then when somebody presses that, it will just default to this thing. Okay, but I don't really want them to see the restart button until there actually is a situation where the game is over. So I was thinking, well, how do you hide a button? And of course, all we have to do really is go over to do a search on, let's see, how to hide. I did a how to hide a button, and I was just trying to look through here because I know there's a dot thing you can use, you know, when access one of the methods. So it looks here that we use a is hidden function, the is hidden parameter in the button class. And if is hidden is true, then it's hidden. If it's not, it's if it's false, then the button is not hidden. So I think I can here, I can, I guess what I want to do is that, well, you know, now is the time when we need to create a update UI. So I'm going to, because I need to be able to call this. So I'm going to say update UI and then create a function. And then, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm supposed to. Thank you for reminding me, Swift. So update UI. And then I'm going to move all of this stuff down. And I think I'll also set story number in here to be equal to 0. And I'm going to make the, what's the name of that button again? It is restart button. So I'm going to say restart button dot text. Oh no, yeah, that's right. We can't do that for a button. Oh, and I don't want to change the text. What I'm going to do is say dot is hidden equals true. And I think I'll probably do that at the beginning of the function, although it might not matter. But I'll put it up here. And I think I will, instead of, I can move all this stuff now out of here, and I can just call update UI. And now I can also use down here, instead of the 0, because I've set story number to 0, I can just use story number. And what I do is I hover over that 0 and then I double click it and it highlights it so that I can just Control V replace it with the story number value. So I've got those two things going. Those two initializations, and then also the label and the button. So what I want to do here is to say restart button. Is hidden equals false. So we're not going to hide it anymore. Okay, so I think the way this is going to work is if at the end of this process we show the restart button. Okay, let's see if it works this way. Okay, so this is a good sign that the restart button is hidden. So if we take a left, now we get to see the restart button. And then it changes to the you see a fork in the road. If I take a right, then it's a restart. Okay, so now we have the ability to restart the game, even though she didn't ask us to. I just thought that that piece was missing. So I think we did all this stuff. The update UI, track where the user is in the storyline using a number, and make everything work this way. So I think I can actually get rid of this code. And this should be the end of the video. So I hope it helps. And I'll start another one for the number 5.